This is Your Anxiety Toolkit, episode number 122. Welcome to Your Anxiety Toolkit. I'm your host, Kimberly Quinlan. This podcast is fueled by three main goals. The first goal is to provide you with some extra tools to help you manage your anxiety. Second goal, to inspire you. Anxiety doesn't get to decide how you live your life. And number three, and I leave the best for last, is to provide you with one big, fat virtual hug. Because experiencing anxiety ain't easy. If that sounds good to you, let's go. Well, welcome back. Today's a particularly interesting episode of Your Anxiety Toolkit. I'm actually recording this from a rented RV. You are going to hear some background noise on this episode because I'm not in my normal recording area. Let me tell you a little bit about what's going on around me. I am just coming off of my birthday weekend. Hey, yay, I'm very excited. Where I decided this year that, you know what, I'm going to celebrate. I'm not going to, usually I'm pretending like it's not a big deal when I usually think it is a big deal. It's my birthday and I really enjoy celebrating. But this time I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. And I rented this gigantic RV and I took the day off work on Friday. And I did a really, really scary thing. So today's segment of I Did a Hard Thing is actually me. I took a risk and I rented the RV and I decided I was going to drive it. I could have easily asked my husband to take the day off. He offered and he would drive it down. But I thought, you know what? I'm fully capable. The only thing that would stop me is fear. And if I'm going to talk the talk, I better walk the walk. And so here I am in the rented RV that is double the size of the car I normally drive. I rented it and I rented a spot on the beach on Malibu. And on Friday night, I met with some dear friends and we had a girls' night. And then on the second night, we met with my family and my kids and we all slept on the RV together and it was just wonderful. And here I am today on my birthday, just trying to wrap up the weekend. And I thought no better time than now to record this podcast and let you know my absolute biggest goal and resolution. If you keep resolutions, I don't know, but my biggest goal, the thing I am promising myself this year for my birthday. And I promise you this is something you really need to put into your practice. Okay, so the I did a hard thing was me. Holy smokes. I'll tell you one thing about this. I noticed I was doing all the tools. I have to tell you, I was driving down this very busy highway in Los Angeles in this gigantic monstrosity of a vehicle. And I was going, yeah, look at me. I'm doing so well. But what I noticed was my jaw started to ache. And what I forgot to notice, or what I wasn't mindful of, is that sometimes when we are anxious, we hold an incredible amount of tension in our body. For me, it was holding tension in my jaw. I must have been clenching my teeth. I actually think I was also pushing my tongue up against my teeth because all of my jaw ached midway into this expedition. And it was really great. Once I recognized that I could loosen things up a little bit and drop my shoulders, breathe a little deeper into my chest and soften a little bit. And so that was super helpful. So I just thought I'd mention that really quick. If you're doing hard things, just do a little check-in and see where you're holding all the tension. If you're hearing background noise, it's because we're on a very busy road. The Pacific Coast Highway is one of the busiest and I hear the most dangerous, which really upped the ante for me and my exposure. Okay, so the biggest goal for my birthday is this. And guys, this is the real deal. If you ask any of my friends, they all know that this is the big thing I am working on. For the next year, my goal is to not rush. That's it. Over the last, I would say, month, I was noticing a shift in my own anxiety. And I was really trying to take note of when it is the worst and when I struggle the most. And to be honest, I will say, I noticed this was often the time where I was in autopilot, acting out of fear, and I wasn't connected to my values. It was always when I was rushing. And there was one morning where I was rushing to school with my kids. I was rushing to drop them off. I was rushing them. They were feeling the anxiety of it. Then I got in my car and I rushed off to work because I had all this stuff I had to do. And then I got to my office and I was rushing to get emails sent and rushing to get social media stuff done. And I was rushing to upload things and I was going from one to the other. And I was thinking to myself, wow, this is great. Look at me go. I'm doing one thing at a time and I'm being mindful when I do it, until it dawned on me that this rushing wasn't doing me any favors. I think what happens is when we rush, we don't stop to enjoy. We don't stop to enjoy the fact that I dropped my children off to school. I didn't connect with them in that moment. I'm embarrassed to say, but it's true. I was rushing. I jumped in the car and I put on the music and I sped away. I didn't go over the limit, but I was going at a fast pace. I didn't stop to enjoy that 10 minutes before I got into the office of just me time. I got into the office. I didn't stop to be grateful for this beautiful office that I have. I didn't stop to honor where my body was at. I was rushing. And I find that we often rush because we're in a mad attempt to just check things off the list. Check, 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 check. And while we're doing that, we're not connected. We're not engaged. We're not actually mindful. We're just checking things off the list. And often that's because when we check things off the list, it makes us feel good about ourselves. And for that short moment, we're like, yay, yay, go me, look at me go. But the problem is, at the end of the day, the real beauty, that real connection has come and gone and passed us. We didn't get to savor any of the moments. And when I say savor, I mean, you guys know it's when you kind of drop down into this experience. You really notice the things that you're doing, the feeling of the pen touching the paper, or you really notice the textures or the smells or the sounds. You're just slowing down enough to actually be here, right? And I won't lie. There are times where I really tell myself and believe that I'm being mindful and present because I'm focused only on the present, but there's no savoring of that moment. There's no enjoyment of that moment. It's just a check, 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 check. I did it. What next? Right? Now, I had to do this multiple times while I was driving this huge vehicle down the highway. I mean, no joke, it takes up every inch of the lane. Like if I even moved a foot or half a foot out of the lane, I could get hit. So it was pretty intense for me. For some of you may find this very, very easy, but for me, it was a very high level exposure. And I had to keep reminding myself, because I've promised myself and I'm taking a vow against rushing, is to go, as I'm driving, look at you go, Kimberly. Wow. And to really recognize, look, you're doing it. You're really, really doing it. Really take in that moment, savor in that moment. Wow, you're on the highway with all these trucks and other huge vans and buses and RVs. It seems like everybody on Friday morning is doing the same thing. They're going towards the beach, as I was. And I really reminded myself, even though I was very, very high in anxiety, to just drop down into allowing some of that goodness to seep in. You know, I know there will be times where there isn't any goodness, but that's probably because you're not looking close enough, right? And if you can't find any, that's fine. I'd love if even once today you could just slow down, stop rushing. Really, you don't have to be there on time all the time. It's not worth it. Let me tell you a story. I had a client many, many years ago who was always on time. Always on time. That was her thing. She would get very upset if she wasn't on time. And I think a lot of us have some perfectionistic qualities around this. I'm not going to lie, I have it too. But always on time. And once she arrived really, really late, and she was very, very upset. Very upset. I can't believe it. I've lost this time. It was 10 minutes of therapy. And therapy was very valuable to her. And, she did not take it lightly. She did not take it for granted. And she said, I can't believe I missed 10 minutes. I'll never get that time of therapy back. And I said to her, the truth is the therapy starts from the minute that clock hits the 12, right? That for that 10 minutes you're late, you could be practicing what we're going to be talking about anyway, which is being in the present. Being open to that way things are, softening the breath, being gentle on yourself, not engaging in self-critical behavior. In that 10 minutes, while yes, you were not in my office, you could be receiving that therapy in your own car. You could be practicing and getting better at that skill because that's what I'm going to be talking to you about anyway. And the next time, a few months later, there was traffic. And she said, I really, really did what we talked about. And I can't believe how helpful it was. LA traffic is always having good and bad days. And she said, I now, when I'm late, I really slow down and just go, okay, it is what it is. How can I not make this worse by rushing? And, trying to just, go around that one car, is it going to save you any time? Rushing, how much time does it really save you? And is it worth it? I think is the question. And for me, no, it's not worth it anymore. It's just not worth it anymore to me. And I think that if you were to practice and get into this practice, you would thoroughly, thoroughly agree. So that's the tool. I'm committed to it. I have told multiple of my friends that this is what I'm working towards. One of my friends, actually, I check in with her almost daily, and we try and hold ourselves accountable and each other accountable to this goal of every day is a walking meditation. Every day. You're slowly noticing that your feet hit the pavement and you push off your ball of your toe and then you heel strike and then you push off the ball of the next toe. And my goal is to slow down enough so that every day has a large degree of this. I know there will be times where I do have to rush. But when I have to, I'm going to try to go back to a default of that not being the normal part of my day. So I hope that you can embark on this. Take every minute as a moment to change the way our brain reacts. Now, this is what I think is super, super interesting, is the more I slow down and the more I don't rush, the more I really notice how much anxiety is deposited in my body when I do, right? And I think back to the many years that I have operated at a speed of just rushing all the time, just to squeeze in a little extra thing or just to get one extra thing done. And yeah, I think I feel short-term relief and feeling good about myself. Yay, look at me, I got one extra thing done. But now I look back and I go, it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. It only feeds anxiety. It only increases this level of sort of distress, and it feels like a state of panic or emergency when we're rushing all the time, right? Who wants to live like that? Who wants to live in a state of panic and emergency? No, not me. If you do, I'm not here to tell you you're wrong, but I just want you to start to maybe question it and maybe challenge it just a little. Because that thing I don't get done now, whatever it is, that thing didn't make me a good person anyway. It didn't make me a better human, a better mom, a better wife, a better existence. It didn't give me anything except this false sense of worthiness of like, yeah, look at me. How good am I? You know, that's not real joy. That's not real happiness. It's not real worth. That's a spell that we're under. And that's for that whole conversation is a whole nother episode. Just slow down. Give yourself the gift. You deserve that piece of slowing down, right? Now, one last thing before we finish up. I know I used to be one of these people. I'm sure there's a lot of you out there as well that don't want to slow down, because when they do slow down, that's when they notice their anxiety the most, right? I remember once sitting on an airplane traveling. I just graduated from my master's degree, and my mom and my sister had surprised me with a trip to America. They had come out to see me, and I was so excited. And then we all took a trip together, a little vacation. And so we were sitting in prep to travel, and I said to my mom, I hate sitting still. I hate the stillness. And she said, why? And I said to her, it feels painful to me. Sitting still is where I notice my discomfort the most. And really, I look back and I go, wow, look how far I've come. I used to have that much of a relationship with my own discomfort, like a very aversive one. So I'm so grateful for how much I have moved forward in this area, and the work has paid off. But if that's you, I totally get it. Sometimes slowing down first will increase your anxiety. I just read a research on this actually, where it says some people struggle with meditation because it actually, for the beginning, increases their anxiety because of the anxiety they have around lack of productivity, or they have physical symptoms of anxiety that they're actually very averse to and very uncomfortable with. And so sitting still, slowing down, actually makes their anxiety worse. Now, if that is you, I'm actually speaking to you really close here. So lean in, lean in. I have something to whisper to you. Please practice slowing down. Because if your relationship with anxiety is, no, I refuse to feel you, and that you can't slow down and rest and sit still because of it, you're even more important. You have to start this practice, right? And do it gently. Do it one bit of a time, and you'll get there. But through this practice of slowing down is where you and all of us, myself included, can make a relationship with fear to where you're like, I can exist around you. You and me, we can hang out. We can hang out while I do scary things, but we can also hang out so I can give my body the rest that it needs. So I can move at a pace that is healthy for my body, that won't cause me to burn out, that will allow me to connect with the present in this very rich and beautiful way, right? It will allow you to have the beauty seep in. A lot of people who have anxiety have depression as well, secondary to their anxiety. And a part of that depression comes from this feeling of being locked in and completely controlled. We feel hopeless. We feel helpless about the situation, mostly because we feel like fear is running the show. So if we can run the show and we can create this environment where we can live with that discomfort, oh my gosh, so amazing, right? Okay. So that being said, it's the year of no rushing. That's the rule. I will not rush today. That's my goal. I will do my best to slow down, right? I will not push myself just to check off one more thing on a list that means nothing about me or my worth. Okay. Sending you all my love. Yay. Thank you for being with me for some of my birthday. I'm so happy to spend some of it with you. Signing off here from this humongous big monstrosity of an RV. I loved it. I have to say I'm so happy and proud that I did this hard exposure because I had so many beautiful moments in it. That's the goal for this year. Maybe I'll do it again next year. Who knows where I'll be? The beauty of it is the more I make small changes, the more my brain makes small changes, and the more my brain makes more changes, the more I can live the life I want. And that's what I'm really invested in, and I hope you are too. Have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon. Please note that this podcast or any other resources from cbtschool.com should not replace professional mental health care. If you feel you would benefit, please reach out to a provider in your area. Have a wonderful day, and thank you for supporting cbtschool.com.